Thanks for joining yet another session with Dynamic 365 global community. Right. It's a very interesting topic today. Salesforce and Power BI integration. Right. So everybody knows that Salesforce acquired Tableau. Right. It's very interesting to see how it works with Power BI. Right. Some of the clients they completely have a Microsoft Hub. Some of them like Java Hub. Right. So this will definitely help others at least to get an idea how to integrate with Salesforce. Right? For today's speaker, we have Suresh, who's an architect, um, pretty much aware of both Dynamics as well as Salesforce. Suresh, it's over to you.
Thank you, Prabhu. So today's topic is, as Prabhu mentioned, Power BI with Salesforce Integrate for Salesforce with Salesforce integration. So I am going to start a little bit of basics of Power BI, or in other words, how to get it started on with Power BI, and then I try to cover some of the interesting topic, little bit of overall security, but not explicitly related to dynamic security, dynamic CRM security. That I'll cover it up in some other topics. But few of the, like, one demo also I have prepared. Overall, what we are going to do is, we are going to integrate Salesforce data in Power BI, and then using Power BI Desktop. So let's get it started. So that is the overall gist of today's session, what we are going to cover. So what is Power BI? Basically, Power BI is a collection of software services and apps, and it is mostly used to connect to different data sources, visualize the data in a pictorial way, and then you can not only integrate online based application, but also overall Excel, for example, an Excel based data integrate with OneDrive. Also, like, if you have some Excel file on OneDrive, and that also you can integrate within Power BI. And in Salesforce, when we talk, we can connect with different objects as well as different reports. Let's get it started. So basically, if you see this slide, we have three main services in Power BI. One is Power BI Desktop, which we are going to see one of the demo, and then Power BI services, and then services, software as a services, basically SaaS, and then Power BI mobile. So these are the three main components that are there. If you want to download Power BI Desktop, then you can just click on this link. When you click on this, you can directly get it from App Store, as well as you can get it like normal MSI or EXE downloads which are there. Those also, that also you can use it. So I have used the desktop version, and I have downloaded it as an 64-bit exe. So if you see how the way it looks, Power BI Desktop, and then this is how the overall tool looks like. It's pretty simple and easy to use. You can see the visualizations are there, then there are filters and the fields. So first, as whatever the way, what the basically, I would say the base is SSRS, but it is completely on Azure driven. So all the servers that you see, it's completely on Azure databases. Also, there is the comparison that you can see is between Power BI Desktop and Power BI Service Pass, software as a services. What all things you can get in Power BI. So mostly, from a CRM perspective, if I would like to say most of the reporting, like based on whatever experience I'm having, I have not seen, like the complex reporting. So whenever it comes, complex reporting means not just, like couple of drill down report, but, like huge data sets when you want to get it, or, you want to try creating some kind of huge dashboards, which involves like 10 different data sources and then gathering data and then multiple drill down reports. So all those data in terms of performance, all those. So when we talk about CRM, mostly it like I would um, like to term, or I would like to categorize the report. The level of knowledge that is required in terms of CRM is mostly like in most of the cases, like I would say around 70 to 80% of the time, we would end up as CRM developer mostly end up creating medium to simple type of reporting. So I had also worked on SSRS reporting. So nearly like we have been I mean like drill down reports. So those sort of things we have been working, but most I have never seen like complex reports wherein it requires a very huge dashboard creation wherein like we are connecting different cubes and SSAS services. So those sort of reporting are not there. So for us in a CRM world, if you want to have some sort of basic, I would say Power BI software as a service should suffice most of the needs. We won't end up writing some Python codes, or some difficult or complex reporting techniques. So most of our need would be answered in Power BI services. I'm not telling that we won't develop, we won't end up in writing complex reporting, but mostly 70 to 80%, if a normal CRM developer is involved in creating Power BI reports, so we are into medium or simple reporting. So we can like in question and answer we can see, like if somebody else want to comment anything on that, or they are welcome. From the while reading, I end up coming into one of the good feature of Power BI. So overall Power BI uses Azure only. So it is completely cloud based, and as we know, like Windows Azure is one of the renowned, and they are technology wise they are very advanced, and most of the security parts, they have good design. So how does the Power BI works in terms of security? So if we see when we log into app.powerbi, so mostly the ATM, that is Azure Traffic Manager, that will connect to the local. So just let's say if a user is logging in from India, so that request will go to ATM, Azure Traffic Manager, and that will define saying that which location it is from. So let's say location is identified as India, because when we are creating the instance of Power BI, we are logging in as which instance, which location it is. So based on that, it of a window web front end is given using ASP.NET, and then after that, here there is no authentication. Still, Power BI doesn't know which user has logged in. It is just identified the location, and once that location is identified, then Windows Microsoft login page appears. As soon as Windows Microsoft login page appears, that will Windows login is based on the Azure Active Directory services. So that is also used here. And once Azure Active Directory services is used, then it goes to the then global services are used, and then the Azure CDN, that is client digital network, client data network. So based on like the JavaScript and the associated whatever is required at the client end, so those are loaded onto the client browser. And then finally the backend service is the one, let's say, uh, if a person is logged in as in India, but the tenant is created in US, the data center is in US. So, or the tenant which is created is in US. So then backend service for that tenant will be responded. So this is what overall security works in Power BI. And then second thing which I'm trying to cover in my slide is the types of data with data security aspect, or the types of data in Power BI. So there are basically three types of data which require security. One is if we see overall, whenever we are doing any connection or any integration system or any reports, when we are creating normal reports also, what we are trying to do is we are trying to connect to some source. So that is data source. We need data source, can be Excel, CSV, or it can be SQL Server, or Salesforce, or it can be Dynamics 365 itself, D365. So it can be anything. So that is imported data. Data moved to Power BI. And whenever data is moved anywhere within Power BI infrastructure, so it is all the data is encrypted. So, and that is first thing. And then the imported data, that also it requires security. And when we do live connections, and then pushed data, when it is trying to do in process. So a lot of the data processing which is done in Power BI is done based on the in in process only. Like the data is cached for a certain time using Azure infrastructure. So it is cached, but that cached data is also encrypted whenever it is moved from A location to B location. Still, the encryption applies so that there is no eavesdropping. So all those data security wise, like quite good data. Power BI is quite good. So I was talking about the in processing. So generally data is processed in two areas. One is in process, that is in memory, and then second is at rest. So, and data transmitted between Power BI and data source is always encrypted using HTTPS. And depending on the data source, data may be moved in service or retrieved just in time. But at any point during the transmission, data is always encrypted. Now, how data encrypted? So basically, data is encrypted in data is stored in only two. One is the Azure databases, and second thing is Azure BLOB. So these are the only two areas wherein data are stored, but they are always encrypted using SQL database TDE technology. Now, one demo which we are going to do is on Power BI Desktop. So basically, what we are trying to do is we have downloaded the Power BI Desktop, and then we are fetching in data. Data source is Salesforce, and there are two components which are available in the reports or the visualization tools that we can use. The visualization tools that require data sets, the data sets from Salesforce perspective, either reports also you can fetch. So there are some reports which you have already created in Salesforce, those also you can use. I would say the possibilities that Power BI is giving us is huge. I mean, and I would say this technology is also quite matured in terms of like it requires itself. It is like a full time need. Power BI developer, they are like completely they can focus, get themselves certified, and they can have a career in that field itself. But just to from the CRM perspective, if we are thinking just having some knowledge of Power BI will certainly helps in handling some medium to simple reporting. So this is what the overall report will be published. So let's say if we are using a Power BI desktop, then data source we have connected, and then that data source we need to publish in a workspace. So app workspace, basically this concept, this is again the data is encrypted. So in this workspace is again the tenant which I mentioned, the backend service. So here, so data, it is stored, definitely the data is stored in your tenant Power BI cloud. Power BI cloud, it is stored, but that cloud workspace, it is your data only, and you have that provision of creating, of sharing with anyone. And again, we need to understand this data is stored, but it is not kind of, you cannot write it but just we are sharing the data. So sharing also, you have that provision how you would like to share, and then that data workspace, the once the data is published from the report, from your desktop report to your workspace, and then from your workspace you can from that workspace report you can create a dashboard, and then that dashboard we can see it in CRM or dynamic CRM, and vice versa in Salesforce also. You can share that reporting. So the example which I am going to use is, first is I will be we need to download the Power BI desktop version, and then once we have downloaded that Power BI, then I'm going to publish it in the workspace which I have created in software as a services, in Power BI service module. And then third thing, the dashboard that is created in Power BI, that I'll be sharing in Dynamics 365. Let's see this example. So don't just, I mean, this is just a sample report which I have created, so please don't mind. So first thing what we will do is, uh, once uh, once you have downloaded this, it needs to be logged in. So just make sure that the workspace has proper access. So right now I have used the same workspace, or the same email ID which I have used in D365. So same thing, I have same ID, I have shared it in Power BI software as a service as well as in the desktop. Once that is done, so first thing what you need to do is you need to create the data source. So data source, how you can create is, get data is there. Once you click on more, then you can type Salesforce. So Salesforce has two things here. One is Salesforce objects and Salesforce report. So if you want to access in Dynamics we call it as entities. So objects are nothing but entities. So Salesforce objects, you can just select and click on connect. Once you have connected, so either there are two links here. If you are in the Salesforce world, basically there can be two or three instances where you require a custom instance or production. Whenever you are logging into production for any Salesforce, you will directly, the login credentials are like login.salesforce.com. So whenever you are using that login, and then the ID which is there, that is unique, so that will connect to your instance. So, and the custom links, when you can use, when you have a custom like a DNS name you have created for your URL, so that URL can be, you can, custom, you can type that URL, or like if you want to connect to these sandboxes in Salesforce terminology means the lower environments like QA, development or test environment. So those you can easily connect. So right now, the instance that I am trying to connect uh, is the developer version. So it has not it has very less data. So you can select whichever object. So these are the objects which are exposed in the Salesforce connector, and then you can select the object and hit load. So once you have hit load, a data set will be created like this. So this table already has few fields. So if you want, first thing is you can use, there are many visualization component, like line chart, pie chart, and normal table with filter. So all those data is there, all those visualization component is there. You can create as fancy report as possible. So, and also, like by default, there is also Power Apps is also there. I have not explored that yet, but just for your reference, that can also be used. So right now what I have done is I have just created a simple table. I have created a simple table, and then this table, I have added couple of fields like name and billing city. And in this billing city also, if you hit this drop down here, then you can see, like a lot of data is there. You can also create a group of that. You can create a grouping for that data as well to come up with some group by kind of reports. And then I have added just couple of charts. Once you have added these two, then we need to know where we are, where we will be publishing this. So second thing we need to connect is Power BI software as a services. So I have logged in using Suresh ID. So this is the workspace which is there. So here if you see, I have already, this is the report. I mean, I have given the report name as per software lightning, Salesforce lightning, and this is how you publish. So if you hit publish, so this particular report will get published in your workspace. And let's say if you have used an Excel file is published on OneDrive, and then that OneDrive source you have connected in your report, and that report is published in your workspace, and that workspace report you are sharing it in your Dynamics 365 dashboard. So if you have done something kind of this, so there is also refresh intervals which can be set for the particular, when you're creating a data source, at that time how much time it should take. Like refresh schedule can also be auto refresh can also be scheduled. And plus there are, like manual refresh can also be done. And as soon as data is changed at a certain interval, if you want to do the changes, that can also be scheduled. So once that is done, so yeah, after publishing, the report comes here. And what I've done is I've created a dashboard here, a dashboard. And then if you see, this is the lightning, and the refresh part that I was talking about, this is the refresh button, and this is the schedule refresh. You can schedule the job timing. You can schedule the job timing, how much, at what interval you want your data to be refreshed. Once this is done, then this is your now we will connect to see now I'll connect to the CRM. Once it's connected, then then you can hit new, and then you need to add Power BI tile to the dashboard. So you can add this. You can click on this and then just hit OK. Save it as dashboard. Save. So this is how your dashboard will look like. I mean, please don't mind. I've just tried to create the basic data, basic dashboard. So, but this is what the demo I would like to show. And hmm, so these are the things. And what else? Hmm. Yeah, and if you want that particular Power BI dashboard option, adding the Power BI dashboards or tiles in the dashboard, if that is not being seen, you need to go to settings, and in settings you can find out there is an option available which tells us, I mean, by checking that option, you get this option, the button will be visible, and you can easily add the dashboard. I was trying to also add the dashboard in Salesforce itself, but that I'll take it up in some other session. But for now, this is the demo which I had prepared to show you. Create a Power BI or desktop report, connect to Salesforce objects, and then the whenever Salesforce I mean those who are new to the, suppose if you have some kind of integration, so one thing you need to remember is if you want to connect to Salesforce always has something called a security token, so that itself is managed. So when you are creating, first is your user ID that will connect, and then the next is authentication, security token authentication. So by default, through those apps, it is already managed. I mean the data, um, when we create the data source at that time, it by default handles that. And yeah, but I would like to give some more time so that we can have some question and answers, or those who have experience in Power BI, they can share their experience. So I'm open. That's it. That's what I would like to. That's what I had prepared for today's session. Thank you.